When we think about 2020 and what really happened in it, it's easy to get stuck in complaining mode, in thinking about how everything was no good, very bad, and terrible. But I want you to stop and think. Stop and remember the things that happened in your own home, your own life, your own family this year. And remember the good things that happened, maybe because of the bad things. That's what we're going to do during this episode. So take 10 minutes with me and let's review 2020 so that we could be better prepared for 2021. It's easy to think that what 2020 has taught us is that planning is worthless. Probably you had all kinds of goals and plans for 2020, a fresh new decade when the year began. And where are those plans now? So as we look at 2021, we think, well, what is the point even? There is a point to planning, but the point of planning is not having our own way in the world. It's being prepared and ready to handle with peace and even joy what God's doing in the world. Living in His plan, not making our own happen. So in the next few videos, over the next few weeks, I'm going to be walking us through a process to prepare for 2021 with peace and joy and preparedness for what 2021 might hold, acknowledging and knowing that we don't actually know what it will hold. If that sounds like something you need, then be sure to hit subscribe and hit the bell so that you don't miss any of the videos this month, because we're going to be going through 5 steps to prepare for 2021. Let's dig in and do just that. So for the next month, I'm going to be walking us through this process with 5 steps to be ready for 2021. And so I'm calling it Ready 5. We are going to review, reflect, renew, reset, and then ready ourselves for 2021. And our first step here today is to review. You can't actually make a plan about the future without looking at the past. We learn about the future from knowing about the past. We are able to take the next step forward only when we know where we're working from. So we have to look back at 2020 and reflect, review what actually happened. So take a piece of paper, take a pencil, and actually write out the things that happened. Maybe in the world, to just get it out there and get it off your mind, put it all out there, but also in your own family and in your own home. The actual events, the circumstances, the situations, review. Don't interpret or assess, just write down what actually happened this year. And probably it's just the default setting that we all function with. Probably this year it's come to the forefront more than ever that we tend to recognize and think about the bad things first. Get those onto paper, but then turn your mind toward what was good that happened in 2020 and make sure that your paper does not contain only the problems, the suffering, the bad things, the trials, the difficulties. Also reflect on the privileges that you had in 2020, the blessings that came from unlooked for circumstances, what was not according to your plan, but that was used for good in your life and in your family's life. It's there. Look for the good and write that down as well. As we review the last year, we are able to ground ourselves in reality. Because often when we start planning for a year to come, we are thinking about our own ideals. And we make plans that are really based on wishful thinking that the next year is going to be so much different and an entirely different kind of thing than the year previously, or maybe that we are going to be totally different kinds of people. But that's not the way the world works or that we work. 2021 is just going to be the next step after 2020, for good and for ill. We can be prepared by knowing what has happened, knowing that God has brought us through, knowing that God has blessed us and worked in us through trial and difficulty. And then we can move forward in faith and trust, knowing that He will continue to do that in the future as well. And so we can plan for that. We can plan for maturing in grace, in growing in faithfulness, and walking in faith and joy, no matter what those circumstances will be. The events that happened in 2020 have reminded us that we are not in control of our circumstances. That's a good reminder to have. It's a good thing to know that we are not in control. So as we make plans for 2021, they need to be plans that do not assume that we control our lives. Instead, we are making plans to be ready to follow in the good works that God has prepared beforehand for us to walk in. That's the plan we need to make for 2021. We can be ready and willing and able to walk in the fruits of the Spirit in 2021. And we get a clue as to how much we need those fruits of the Spirit by reviewing 2020 and seeing the needs, the realities of the past, and knowing that those of the future are not going to be much different. So we can be prepared and ready for what we are going to be called to do in 2021. Take some time, even just 10 minutes, to write down on paper the things that happened in 2020. And then join me for the next episode where we will reflect on these things that you write down. So keep this paper. We'll keep taking this step by step as we ready ourselves for 2021. So you might feel like 2020 was a sucker punch of a year, but the reality is that though our plans failed this year, God's did not. With the wake-up call that we received, we can prayerfully and intentionally move forward with faith and with trust, planning to make progress in what really matters, the fruit of the Spirit. If you need some help wrapping your head around 2020 and what it means for 2021, then don't miss my latest workshop right here. 4 things to do to prepare for 2021. The first step in processing the past and preparing for the future is a brain dump. That's kind of what we got started today. You can find a full guide to brain dumping at simplyconvivial.com. It will help you declutter your head and be able to think through with clarity what you need right now. Find the brain dump guide at simplyconvivial.com and check out that planning workshop for 2021 here on YouTube. And remember, repent, rejoice, repeat.